give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. What's going on in today's show? If you have overstayed your visa and you want to know what your options are to get a green card resident status, you want to watch this episode. Folks, welcome to greencardguys.tv. I'm your host, John Ting, and I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America and across the world, helping you solve your immigration problem and maybe preventing the problem from happening in the first place. So stay tuned. Subscribe down below, click follow up above if you're on TikTok. And there's actually several options that is not necessarily only about getting married to a U.S. citizen. I know y'all hear that time and time again, but the other options need the facts. It depends on your situation, okay? So one of the ones that is most common these days, especially with crime rates going up, okay, not a thumbs up, but going up, unfortunately, you really need to be cognizant and know of this option called U visa. Okay, U visa can, if the act is a crime, the first thing you want to think about is U visa. Okay, even if you don't know the letters and whatnot, that doesn't matter. The first thing, really, if there's a crime, you need to call 911. That is very, very important. You need to call 911, okay? Because for U visa, you need to show that to USCIS that you have cooperated. You have told the story, the real story, the truth to the police. And it could be the sheriff's department, it could be a constable, as long as it's a law enforcement agency. Okay, so U visa is option one if you've overstayed your visa. Another one that is related to marriage or even not just marriage, but it could be your child. If you've been abused, not necessarily by your spouse, but a child or even your parent. And yeah, it could be a child that's under 18, under 21. You would not have thought of that, right? But, these days with what the heck's going on with TikTok and everything, some teenagers are a bit wild out there. I don't know why they think they can get viral. Being viral is like amazing. I don't understand how that's anyway, but that's something you can consider for U visa in VAWA. Okay, so those are two right now, but the person who abused you has to be a U.S. citizen or a resident for VAWA's purposes. Okay, now third one, that is if a child has been abandoned, abused, or neglected. Okay. And that does by at least one parent. It doesn't have to be both parents, at least one of them. Okay. And I got my little kiddo right here. Speaking of kids. So hope you're all doing well. If you want, you can welcome to drop your question in the chat box below. And I'll try my best to answer them. Okay. But let's see. Now, the other option is parole in place. Okay, parole in place. So the thing is, if you overstay your visa, you need to apply for a waiver. Okay, unless of course have a petition filed on your behalf by an immediate relative. But for many of y'all, you don't have a 21-year or older adult child, or you don't have a spouse as a U.S. citizen. So that's why I'm sharing these options. So you might actually have a solution, but you didn't know about it. So if you have a family member, what I was mentioning is military parole in place. Okay, typically that is for people who entered without a visa, so you can prevent having to go back. So the key thing here is not having to go back to your country of nationality for the interview. Okay, that's a key thing. Let's see here. So that's called military parole place if you have a family member in the military, or not necessarily in right now, but no longer can be also considered reserve duty in the reserves. All right, so that's something to think about. So I know a lot of y'all stuck, and even asylum is one of those options, but of course not everyone's has a claim for asylum. And even if you thought about it now, you had to have filed it within 1 year of your legal entry, or 1 year of your entry in general into the United States. Okay. So another one, we talked about U visa, VAWA, special immigrant juvenile visa, and military parole in place. Now we're going to talk about. Okay, good job, good job. Now we're going to talk about the. My wild kid, turned on the vacuum. Okay, go there. The other one is T visa, trafficking visa. So most people think of trafficking visa as in smuggling, but it's not just smuggling. Okay, it actually includes labor trafficking, where you have not been paid your wages. You might think, well, don't all jobs pay people? Sometimes it tends to be one of those jobs that's under the table. Maybe someone's worked at a farm, things like that. Okay. If my child went through the airport TSA with a vacuum, I'm pretty sure they would take that away. So hopefully he'll let me do that right now. All right. So that's those are the main ones right there. There's so anyway, back to VAWA. Just some things I think about VAWA is that don't think it has to be only about physical abuse. It can be emotional abuse, non-physical abuse. Those count, okay? So don't give up. There's and also for if you're a victim of a crime, you might think, well, on the police report, it doesn't say I'm the direct victim. So the U visa does actually include people who are what we call indirect victims. So maybe you didn't actually have a gun pointed at you, or you didn't physically have something stolen from your possession. But let's say you were at a convenience store and you were there present, you witnessed the situation, the crime happening. You're considered an indirect victim. So that counts. All right. And also, if you're not even if you're at home, like it was one of your family members that got assaulted or a battery, you could be a family member, right? So you're, as a family member, a direct nucleus of the family, you also can apply for U visa as well. So that leads, all these different options lead to residency, but of course, as a separate application, and every situation in terms of timing depends on that particular case. All right, folks. So that covers it for that main topic: how to get a green card. Other than trying to find the right fit. So now I'm going to answer some questions right now. And by the way, if I'm not able to answer your question or not as in depth as you prefer, or you can't hear me because my kiddo is playing some kind of toy down here, please know you're welcome to give us a call right up here on YouTube and Facebook. You can see it. Or on TikTok, you can go to our website, greencardguys.com, or just send us a DM and our team can easily send you our contact info. All right, so let's see some questions here. Thanks so much. This means a lot. Your questions mean a lot. Really appreciate your trust. All right, Dave, Chinton Dave, how long does USCIS take to respond to RFE? There's no black and white timing, set timing in terms of that, set in stone. We've had cases, it could take like the next day, a couple days, or like especially when we sent in the medical exam. But ultimately, it does. It's not set timing. So I've heard people comment here below and have said like, "Oh, it's been like 3 months, 6 months." If it's been 6 or more months, let's talk. Give us a call, and we'll see if it's considered like a mandamus lawsuit situation. All right, so let me switch over to YouTube real quick. How long does CR1 and visa interview get scheduled? I guess you could say the date after DQ. It really depends on the country or consulate or embassy. We call that the post. But across the world, if you had to put an average timing, at least 6 months after being documentarily qualified. Okay, and then let's see. Do we handle J1 cases? So generally, J1 cases are handled by, Like if you're applying for the first time, it's depending situation. It depends. It usually requires like the host or a sponsor. Okay, TSA did not confiscate the vacuum, so I had to. All right, so we got a lot of vacuums laying around for some reason. Yeah, we do handle J1, but it depends on your situation. And we do especially handle J1 for those folks who need some kind of exception to being able to get the being able to adjust status. Because a lot of people, they find a loved one, the right match, and they're like, "What the hell, John? What is this stamp on my passport that says 212, 2 year restriction?" Yeah, the default is in that situation when you have a stamp, you have to return to your country of nationality for 2 years and then try to come back in. But there's many times that we've been successful to get that waived, essentially. Okay. Hi, Novi. Good day. Can surgery be used as a medical emergency to speed up NVC appointment date? I would believe it can. I would think also whether you're the beneficiary for national or not, I believe it can. We have been successful in terms of getting expedited. Let's say your petition's already approved, so you're wondering if NVC can expedite to get an interview sooner. Yes, they can. They just don't make it as clear cut as USCIS, like blatantly visible, but it's in there. It's possible. We've got it done. Do you need a lawyer for that? You don't. But if you already have a lawyer, then you might as well ask. We would help in that situation if you consider us to take over your case. All right. Let's see here. You have 7 years relationship. You submit a lot of pics to USCIS. Do you think that would be a problem? You talking about the pics itself to be a problem? They don't like that many pictures in general, but that doesn't mean that that's a reason to deny someone or hold up your case. Your follow-up comment is you also submitted auto insurance and bank statements. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's great that you've had a 7 years relationship. Hopefully you were able to document those, at least a good amount of those years. But you don't, for anyone who has not filed their case and wondering like, oh, I have to be with someone for a certain amount of time. No, not necessarily, but it is helpful the longer you are with someone, the more proof you would have inherently, right? But there is no set requirement of timing how long to be together. Well, Lucas, doesn't sound like you have an issue right now based on what you've shared so far. So hopefully that'll work out for you. Okay. And by the way, folks, if you're wondering how long it should take to get your case approved and you filed for in the United States as AOS, you enter with a visa or you have an exception that applies for you, generally 3 to 5 months in 2023. Who knows what the heck's going to happen next year? Okay, so far, so good. Kadeem asked, hi, John. Can arriving aliens with final removal order but paroled by ICE under 212D5 eligible to adjust status via USCIS? I'll have to take a look at your situation. I can't say that. Well, first of all, that just depends on being paroled is helpful, of course, to show legal entry. Or we don't want to use quotations, but legal entry. But I'm assuming maybe you've been sponsored by a spouse or something like that, because that's the other part, who you're sponsored to, right? Yeah, but there is an issue with people. There was a court case recently that, unfortunately, with Cubans, that has made it more difficult. But by your name, I'm assuming you're not Cuban. So happy to take a look at that. Okay. Jose, you've been waiting 2 years for 601A. The wait time was 24 months at that time. Now it's 44. Yeah, it's freaking nuts. And I think your question, what can you do? Well, you may want to consider filing a lawsuit. Okay. We've done it successfully for other cases, for other clients. So we're happy to help you. Let's talk about it. But yeah, folks, I go live every day. You know, don't think I love talking about legal information, sharing information, but ultimately, y'all got to make a decision on your future. Okay. You cannot let USCIS or State Department, mislead you and make you think that, oh, they're going to do something for your case next week. Like especially when you're finally able to submit an inquiry online and it said, okay, it's outside processing time, wait 30 days for a response. Waiting 30 days for response doesn't mean that you're going to get the actual case decision. So I think sometimes people unfortunately misunderstand that, and could be another 30 days, another 30 days after that, and then end up being like 3 more years after that. So take action in your case. There is opportunity to file a mandamus lawsuit, but let's chat about it. Even if you don't think it really has met that quote unquote time period, you don't have to wait the actual time on the USCIS website. So, Jose, you don't actually have to wait 44 months to file a lawsuit. Let me pin Brian's comment real quick here. Can you travel internationally if 751 is being processed and we receive letter extending 48 months? Well, that's great. You received the receipt notice that has automatic extension for 48 months. That's good news and ridiculous news at the same time. I wouldn't say bad news, but it's good to answer your question directly. Yes, you can travel. You have to provide that original receipt notice, okay, because that's what's going to show that you have auto extension. And you have to provide that when you go through the airport, okay? The ticket agent will ask you. If not the ticket agent, then at the gate itself, all right? Because I think there's some kind of arrangement or agreement between all the airlines or countries, and they just have to double check that. I've even had clients that only brought the courtesy copy or only had it on their phone, and they called us, said, what the heck, what do we do? We were able to fortunately make it work, but at the end of the day, it's the best option situation is to bring the original notice. And you can tell a difference because it kind of feels like money. It's like the official notice. Go figure. America loves money, right? Let's see here. You've been waiting 1 year for 485. That sounds about right. That's not horrible, okay? I just had to take my phone off focus in case USCIS calls me, since I'm waiting for their call. Okay, you've been waiting for 1 year. So yeah, that's about normal, unfortunately. Now, I don't know, Carrie, is that your name? Carrie moved to Austin. I don't know if, you filed it based on marriage or whatnot, or when you filed it. But if you said 1 year, then it sounds like you filed it around November 2022. So unfortunately, I know it's weird. For those that filed in November or 2022, you're not necessarily getting the case, process in 3 to 5 months. It's really strange how the government works. It doesn't really work efficiently. Okay. Which one would I suggest, fiance visa or spouse? And which one is shorter? So I'll try to make it as quick as possible. You'll probably see like older blog articles, things like that online saying, or even law firm articles that are probably old. I would hope it's older because the old news was saying fiance visa is intended to be faster in the sense of being able to come in the country, but it's not faster to get the green card. But because of before the pandemic, it would be like 3 to 5 months to get the petition on the K1 fiance visa approved. But again, that's only step one. But these days, it's taking like 12 months, a minimum. Okay. And this is post pandemic. We're not even in the pandemic anymore. So they haven't updated or reduced their processing time on that, unfortunately. So, and then even when you finally get to the stage of visa interview, which is the last step of the process, okay, if the person's abroad, it can take a long time just to get the interview, okay, for fiance visa. So I recommend, if it's possible, then you go ahead and get married first, okay, before you apply. Now, if you're wondering if I should, if he or she can travel to the United States on a visitor visa, then apply for that first before you get married. Because once you get married and you fill out the form DS 160 online, it does ask if you're married, and they're going to deny you because then they're going to automatically assume you're going to overstay your visa. Hey, Richard, this is wild that this live came up on your For You page. That's cool. I didn't know that actually works. And you just got approved after a 3-year process last week. You know, Richard, I think all these apps are listening to us when we talk about these conversations. So I try to limit my use personally. But yeah, that is wild, especially if you haven't actually typed into the search box. Yikes. But congratulations to you, Richard. And wish you all the best for your next step in the status journey. Why does I-130 for your mom keep getting delayed? I wish I knew that answer. I wish I had the magic ball. First, it was 9 months, now 12, and you're a U.S. citizen. Yeah, for those applications, you would think it's rubber stamp, especially when you're filing for your parent as a U.S. citizen. This is just a way that I believe that USCIS controls the ability for people to get green card status. Okay, it's very unfortunate. Okay, but they could make it faster because I don't think it really should take an officer that much time to approve a case. All right. Richard says they skipped your interview and gave you the green card, thankfully. Yeah, thank God, because you said 3-year process after filing. Then yeah, that is strange because typically that when that happens, they have scheduled for interview for people who filed before 2023. You're finally able to travel home and see your family since before pandemic. My goodness. Well, I'm glad you're finally able to do that. And please tip right here, Richard, for any reason, especially because some people get the green card and they're like, okay, finally I can change jobs. But let's say your job is like, okay, buddy, you're gonna have to travel, like basically live abroad. But they didn't really say it like that. And they're like, and you ask like, oh, well, how long am I gonna be there? Okay, 3 months. But that 3 months turns in like 6 months. Go ahead and apply for the re-entry permit. I think it costs like $500 ish. I know it's money possibly down the drain, but it's to protect your status because you want to show to the customs officer when you return that you did not intend to abandon your status. That re-entry permit is valid for 2 years. Okay. So if anything, consider like, I don't know, some people justify whatever they pay for iPad or MacBook, things like that, like divided by per day usage or something, or buy shoes or something. I don't know how people do it. I think the same for a re-entry permit because that we get a lot of calls about from people who say, John, my company told me that I had to work outside for X months, and I'll tell you and anyone else that the government's not going to care. Okay, you should. It's like you should have known to take precaution beforehand, and if anything, you could have got a different job. That's what they'll say. See, good thing you found me in the For You page because I love to share information like this. I can't call it legal advice because my state bar would not like me. So, the full disclaimer: there's legal information. If you want advice one-on-one with attorney or from an attorney, you need to consult with attorney one-on-one so you get the accurate advice for your own situation. Chanel filed I-130 and 45 together. More info for 45 was requested. Does that mean I-130 will be approved? Right. So sometimes when they typically when they request for evidence, it could be on the I-130 or it could be on the 485 or maybe sometimes both. But getting RFE, when you say more info, that means RFE. That doesn't mean when one application, that doesn't necessarily mean the other one's approved. And so they typically approve them at the same time. So hopefully, but sometimes they approve the petition beforehand. So you might have seen that or heard that from other friends. that just because yours is not approved first on the petition, that's not a bad thing. They typically do it at the same time. Someone asked earlier. Someone asked earlier where I'm located, what state. We're at in Houston, Texas. We're in Houston, Texas. We have an office here. I'm formerly from Dallas, so attorney friend shares his office there. Worst case scenario, but with two kids, to be honest, it's tough to get out. It's tough. I feel like I'm in prison. Just kidding, but kind of serious. I did get out today. I just went to a doctor's office for the kiddo. Um, Richard, anything you need to be aware of for reentry after short trips? Um, no, just make a scanned copy of your green card. Number one, oh shoot, the kid got out uh, um, from the nap. Let's see. Yeah, just make a scan copy of your green card just in case. Friend back. You just never know when. I've heard of people getting. Wish you the best. Be safe. Be cognizant, especially when you're traveling abroad or even in the States. But people get sucker punched. I've heard of those stories. I think that's really about it for short trips in that sense. Okay. Thank you so much for your questions. Hopefully, my answers have been able to help you out in some way. And by the way, if you do appreciate the way we share information or how, please, if you're on TikTok, I think all you do is have to tap the screen or give us a follow if you want more information in the future. And then if you're on YouTube, similar, you guys can subscribe down below right here, I think, and click the thumbs up. So let's see. Okay, I got some more questions here. Can I ask how much? Okay, I can answer two more questions. I'm going to hop off for the kiddo. Can I ask how much approximately to process J1 waiver in office? So I wish to share the pricing here. I've memorized a good amount of them because I've obviously helped put the pricing together, but I'm not allowed to share it on social media. I've been banned before by the platform, so I think they just want to be safe on that. But yeah, call our office, okay, Jay? And then one more question. By the way, if you have not heard this and you just joined the show, we do offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you, and there's no obligation to hire us. It's just part of our mission to help you get pointed to the right direction, okay, if anything. And but it'll be our pleasure to assist you if you need it. One more question, and okay. General question. In my experience, has anyone been denied entry based on advanced parole? Fortunately, no. None of our clients have been. When they've tried to re-enter, they've all been able to get through. But hopefully that helps. I don't know if it helps for you, but fun news. If you have a specific question for your situation, let us know. But we advise all clients to not travel abroad if they have some kind of criminal history. Okay. And then just wait it out if they're eligible for adjustment of status, of course. But everyone's situation is different. Okay. And then I'll answer one more on Rina Ali, pending asylum for 8 years, not even be able to go to interview. So we've actually filed mandamus lawsuits and successfully obtained the interview date, sometimes within 1 month, especially when it's been a case that long. Okay, even 4 years. After 4 years, we file a mandamus lawsuit for that. You submitted EB3, still at Department of Labor. What's the option for GC? I don't think it's going to happen unless you're going to consular process, which it's a risky move for you. So, but it's still possible. Just risky though. All right. But yeah, otherwise, if you feel very strongly about your asylum claim, very strongly, I'm not an asylum lawyer. We do have referrals for you if you do want to speak to one. But maybe you already have a lawyer for that. But we can help you with the mandamus lawsuit on that. Okay. CR Life. Hi, John. How old does a son or daughter have to be? 21 years old. Okay. But the relationships, let's say, is like a step parent situation, stepdaughter, stepson, that marriage have to have happened before the child becomes adult at 18 years old. And how long does the green card take? That depends if you're abroad or in the States. Okay. Hopefully that helps out, but minimum 12 months on average. Okay. Well, alrighty. Well, today's Friday, TGIF. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your questions. I got to get going. I got to get work done and figure out what the heck's going on with this wild kid. All right. Wish.